Hey guys, how you going? Hope you're all doing very well. This afternoon I'm going to be doing another movie review. This movie is a thriller from the United States, English language, released in the year 2017, directed by Jordan Ross, and this film is called Thumper. So Thumper is set in the lower income area of the United States. Everyone really doesn't have a hope for the future, so drugs play a very prevalent role. So you've got this young girl who is at high school, and she actually develops a connection with this boy. Now this boy actually turns out to be a drug dealer for a very intimidating boss. Now this boss is actually a cook, and he's ruling with an iron fist, and so this drug dealer dares not to step out of line. So this girl actually has concerns for this boy because she believes that he is in danger. So she's going to try and develop this connection with this guy in order to try and get him out of this world, but unfortunately this woman is actually hiding something herself that threatens to destroy everything. So what that is and whether or not she can actually come out with this guy that she likes is something you're going to have to find out for yourself, because that's as far as I'm going with my synopsis. Now my thoughts on Thumper. Expectations for this film were at a curious level. I wasn't expecting an absolute masterpiece, but then again, yeah, there have been some very good low-budget independent American cinema recently. You've got films like Mean Dreams, you've got Roxy and Vincent, and you've also you've got a whole host of other films that have been very impressive, and it does give you the impression that independent cinema can be just as good as mainstream. You don't need a lot of money to actually make a good film, is because independent cinema rely on stories, they rely on characterization, as opposed to mainstream that has a lot of special effects, and so that can be a godsend. And so there is some pretty good stuff in American independent cinema, and I was hoping that Thumper would be another one that I would really remember. I saw the trailer, I thought, alright, this looks very gritty, and the movie is very gritty, and I'd say the best part of the film is the fact that it is low budget, because it does give you the world that the director wants to create. This is a low income area, this is almost like an apocalyptic world where these people have absolutely no future, so they're forced to go into the drug trade, and the drug trade very, very destructive, and society deems people in the drug trade as undesirables. But this movie tries to give you the impression that these are human beings, that these are people who are victims of their circumstances, victims of their environment, and the movie does have very interesting aspects as far as that is concerned. And so it's not just another drug film where it's demonizing these people, it's giving you, the demonized people, a little bit of humanity so you can sympathize with their cause. Is that, you know, they're not born evil, they're a product of how they're brought up, and so there are no real opportunities. And I thought that the villains in the film, it did give them a different sort of spin, and I thought, alright, well that was the best part of the film, is that it's trying a little bit different in order to prevent itself from giving you a black and white film, you know, good guys versus bad guys. And so the characters in the movie I thought were very interesting, although there are problems I will go into a little bit later. I thought the connection between the main character and this boy were actually quite interesting for the first, say, quarter of the movie. Is that, alright, well, is this drug dealer, is he having second thoughts about what he's doing? Is he actually going to be able to get a better life for himself? And I thought, alright, the movie is giving you an insight into this character to a point where I actually sympathised for him. I actually rooted for this guy, and it was the same even for the cook, you know, the evil villain, the guy who has a hulking figure, is that he was very, very aggressive. But once again, there's a little bit of a monologue that he gives that gives you the impression that, and gives you an insight into his mentality, and it's almost a very sympathetic mentality. And so it just shows you that the real villain in this movie is drugs, and the real villain in the film, as I said, is society basically turning a blind eye to these people in need, and then unfortunately it's a vicious cycle. You push them aside, so they're going to have to try and make ends meet by any means necessary, so they're going to create drugs, and they're going to sell the drugs to the people, and it's just going to destroy everything. And so it's just a catastrophe waiting to happen, and it's a ticking time bomb. And I thought the time bomb, sort of ticking time bomb element to this film does have a little bit of suspense, and I thought, alright, well that was good. So it was very intelligently made, and the characters were very interesting. I thought the acting from Pablo Schreiber, who plays the villain, I thought he was outstanding. And you've also got a whole host of other actors who do a good job, and I think the script allows these people to develop something that comes to an interesting level. I thought there was some nasty moments, and there were moments that really had you on edge. Is that the slow build-up, you know that something was going to happen, you know that it wasn't going to have a happy ending, because they're trying to make a life for themselves, but as I said, it's the victim of the circumstances, it's their environment that's holding them back, and they're trying to break free. And so you get that insight into these people, and you barrack for these people. You want these people to make it, but you're not quite sure if they're ever going to. And this actually happens, is that this is reality, and this is the ugliness of life. And I think the low budget quality of this film really does give the movie the grittiness that it really needs, and I think really pays respect to the actual world that it's trying to depict. So you've got the connection between the main character and this boy that I thought was somewhat interesting, but unfortunately this is where my problem comes, is that the movie does have very interesting ideas, and there are monologues to the film that give you the impression expectation that this is going to be a deep and meaningful film, but those deep and meaningful aspects are never really explored to a point where I felt satisfied. I thought that this was used as an excuse to the producers to make the film, is that the director was saying, okay, well, I'm going to put all these interesting aspects in, and the producers say, all right, well, this is going to be something a little bit different. But unfortunately, when it comes time to execute the film, it's just hanging over the film instead of actually making it its solid heart. And so I thought, all right, well, this is a missed opportunity because I'm not getting that strong connection that I really want from the movie. And unfortunately, it does have a little bit of a twist, and when you see that twist, this is where it goes from a realistic portrayal of the destruction of drugs to a straight out standard generic sort of thriller, a drug sort of thriller. And I knew exactly when I saw the twist how this movie was going to end, and unfortunately it does end exactly the way I thought it would. And so it almost felt like this movie had a great idea for the first quarter, but it didn't know how to carry itself on, and unfortunately it decides to go into generic territory that's already been explored time and time again, and it does eliminate a lot of the creative and positive processes that the film has. So I thought it's not a terrible film by any means, but it's a movie that could have been a lot better if it explored its ideas a lot more, if it executed a lot more, and showed a little bit more self-confidence, because it did have the potential to be a great film, but unfortunately it just comes across as a movie that you could probably dispose of. If you don't see it, you're really not missing much, but if you see it on a Friday night, then it's definitely a decent way to spend 90 minutes, but don't get your hopes up for a masterpiece, because it's just not one of them. So it's a movie that doesn't quite live up to the expectations I had as far as low budget American independent cinema is concerned, but it does have enough interesting ideas to make me go out and recommend it, and as a result of that, I'm going to give Thumper 2.5 stars. Alright guys, that's it for my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you later.